6'7" goofball, even in high school. I'd received my share of "Do you love me? Check yes or no" notes shoved through the vents in my locker. I couldn't quite believe he'd killed somebody. But isn't that what folks always say? He never seemed like the type. I kept staring toward Don Lee, but didn't waggle my fingers back at him. "You know why he committed this heinous act, don't you?" Pud asked, feigning seriousness and trying to pretend he didn't see Don Lee make nose prints inside the cruiser window. "Tragic, isn't it? It's his true love for you that drove him to it." Pud's companion, a dark, lanky kid barely out of high school, snorted. When I turned my back on Don Lee to glare at him, he shifted his attention to a puddle of Pud's tobacco spit. At least my slit-eyed stare worked on somebody. But it didn't stop Pud. He just kept smiling. He'd always liked a good joke, but I hadn't figured out the punchline on this one. Joking about this just seemed mean-spirited, so I ignored him. The Donna Karan suit I'd put on for my official lawyer visit with Don Lee wasn't heavy enough for an early morning visit to a boat landing. The November breeze off Luna Lake, which was really more of a pond, nipped through my silk blouse. Any idea where the body is, or how long it might take to locate it? I tried to get Pud to focus on the fact that somebody had died. Anything to avoid having to consult with my client. It was just too sad. Pud kept staring and grinning and working his tobacco wad. The guys scattered in clusters around the lake's edge alternated between studying the water and sneaking looks over at us. They seemed to be eyeing us more than the activity on the lake. "Nope," Pud said. The breeze wasn't strong enough to push up waves. Bubbles appeared at regular intervals on the lake's dark surface. How long can those guys stay under there? Even the thought of it felt cold. "Ah, they can swim all day with those suits. The ones freezing their arses off are those two numbskulls bobbing around in that boat out there." In a 2-seater flat-bottomed John boat, 2 men huddled in camouflage green jumpsuits and jackets. Every now and then, one would crane over the side as if he could see something in the greenish-brown water. Then, turtle-like, he'd poke his neck back into his coat collar. "Those guys love it," Pud said. "Gives 'em a chance to practice." Practice. He wasn't taking any of this seriously enough. My next question was cut off by the arrival of another pickup. It slid to a stop behind my truck. The newcomer's door popped loudly as it opened, then squawked shut. As soon as he slammed the door shut, I found myself face to face with the reportedly dead P.V. Probert. "P.V.!" Pud threw up his hands in mock surprise. He had shifted from comedian to dramatic actor in the time it took P.V. to slam his door. "You're alive!" "Course I am, Idjit. Heard y'all's dragging the lake. Come on the scanner. Found anything yet?" "Actually," I observed wryly, "you're not supposed to be here." He jammed his hands on his skinny hips. "Says who? It'd come over the scanner." Like that was all the permission he needed. "No, I meant you're not supposed to be here." I pointed at the ground where we stood. "You're supposed to be there." With his lips pursed in his sun-dried face, P.V.'s gaze followed my pointing finger to the lake. He stared for a few seconds at the small rivulets the breeze made on the lake and at the 2 guys sitting like a couple of sillies in the boat. Then he looked at me as though he might need to put some distance between himself and a crazy person. "What the—" Pud couldn't hold it a second longer. Tobacco-stained spit spewed from his rubbery lips, and he doubled over as far as his protruding belly would allow, sounding like a Macy's parade balloon with the air hissing out of it. Pud guffawed. "You ain't got sense enough to know you drowned, P.V." P.V. looked bewildered, but I was a few hundred yards ahead of P.V. on this one. Not that that was hard to do. Don Lee Griggs apparently told these